Thank you, Mr. Budget Chief. I'd like to do three things. First is, even though I'm not moving the motion, there's a motion I've asked Councillor Bravo to move on my behalf, and that is the one that you heard me discuss with Ms. Taylor, which is just to ask the Budget Committee to confirm its support for the Mura allocation as is listed in the reserve accounts briefing note. The second thing that I'd like to do is make a note about the process. When I was drafting that motion, it was suggested to me that the correct form was to write it as a request of the mayor, and that would be the correct form of all motions at the Budget Committee. I just want to say how odd it is. Here we are in a room with pretty much the entire brain trust of the Toronto Public Service and the public service that supports the various agencies in the City of Toronto. We've been through a process of deputations in front of this group that included hundreds of Torontonians. We've been through a process where the elected members of council have been able to ask questions of staff, and we're effectively being told this body makes no decisions, makes no recommendations. It can merely make requests. That is a fundamental loss of democracy in our city. It's a fundamental loss of transparency in our city. And frankly, it's quite an insult to every member of the public who took the time to be here or watch these proceedings. It's a diminution of the role of Toronto City Councillor. And frankly, I think it's both an insult and a diminution of the Toronto Public Service. I just wanted to say that. The third thing that I wanted to do is to talk about how the budget to date, and here I'm relying mostly on what the mayor has said in press conferences, because evidently this is all just sort of advisory that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. The budget to date is fundamentally not the budget that Torontonians want to see. It is not the budget that will create the city Torontonians want to live in. We have heard over and over and over again that you can't cut services and ask people to pay more. That applies to the Toronto Transit Commission, and it applies to a number of the services where there are user fees. And I think it applies generally. We're asking for a property tax increase, and throughout this budget we're seeing divisions coming in below inflation. We're seeing maintenance being deferred. We're seeing a budget that basically watches Toronto slowly crumble. We have also heard tremendous social conflict about the overwhelming allocation to the Toronto Police Service, and I want to remind everybody it's $68 million for a 5.5% increase, compared to $1 million or $500,000, depending on how you count it, for the new Community Crisis Service. We're seeing an increase in the number of security guards on the Transit Commission. We have security guards going into our parks. We're sending out streets to home staff onto the TTC who will have nowhere to send anybody. Streets to I don't know where. Torontonians understand that if you want a safe city, you build public services. This budget does not do this. We also have debated over the course of my time here four separate climate plans. None of the first three was ever realized, and the current one, we heard, for example, from the TTC that the necessary vehicles and bus garages to help us achieve that plan are simply not budgeted for. We face multiple crises as a city: our crumbling infrastructure, the social divisions, the increase in violence at the same time as services are declining, and a changing climate. And this budget does not address any of those in a meaningful way, and it can be argued goes backwards on several. Thank you.